The poker world is watching because today, the best of the best on the PokerGO Tour are playing for everything. For the $1 million prize pool, for the love of the competition, and for the right to be known as a champion among champions. Hello everyone, at long last, this season of the PokerGO Tour culminates in the PGT Championship. From where else but the PokerGO studio nestled inside Aria Resort and Casino here at City Center in Las Vegas, Nevada. We dive inside and take a look at our luminaries ready for battle. Ali Nejad joined by Jesse, Sylvia here in the booth. Jeff Platt handling the sidelines and handling the chip lead is that man right there, PGT Player of the Year, Jeremy Osmus, who will begin with the biggest stack, courtesy of that accolade. To see everybody just getting their bearings here in this $1 million Freeroll Invitational. Top 40 players on the PGT Tour did qualify. And of course, Brian Rast alongside Daniel Negreanu, number 7 on the all-time money list among those top 40 players. 54 million plus in career tournament earnings for Negreanu. He'll be at the feature table along with Czar Rast, sitting on 431,000, quite a bit more than Brian, who's got 145K, and just look at that in terms of nightmare fuel as you see the lineup of 7, brought to you by Octopi Poker. Sievert with 121,000 did take the World Series of Poker by storm this past summer, a multi-bracelet effort. Only 6 players will make the money here in this free roll, brought to you by Monkey Tilt. You saw the payouts, a minimum of $40,000 if you make the top 6, and the $500,000 up top for the eventual champ. In this 2-day event where we begin at level 4 with our coverage, 1,500, 3,000 are the blinds with a 3K big blind Annie. And Jesse, I cede the floor to you, my friend, with all of those duties complete.
I have to say, Ollie, the word championship is thrown around quite often in the poker world for different tournament series. This feels like a real championship. They've spent all year drawing out the best players across one of the toughest tours, if not the toughest tour.
I got just a moment that I came in and I looked at this particular featured table. You just realize these are all big names spanning a fairly broad period of time. Jesse Lonis on the newer side of the spectrum. He's really made his mark as a super high roller of late, making his mark here with a couple of 10s, albeit as a flat caller of the Czar Rast Open. The 7-8 of diamonds responsible. Look at Negreanu pipped in the big blind as he closes the action. 4-way affair heading to a queen high flop, and it is Sievert who is all over this one with queens and deuces. Note a couple of diamonds though, and we await Rast's response, having flopped the flush draw.
Like, if they use those seats, it'd be great. Like, this is a
little something for everybody here.
Agreed on that.
Have to imagine Lonis and Negreanu will at least attempt to just hold on for dear life with their second pair. Rast, of course, could play this hand a number of ways.
Table in the world, and Brian can still see my cards when I look at them. Like, we shouldn't be this close together.
Yeah.
So Rast, having checked instead of C-bet, does allow Sievert to activate for 9,000. Lonis not going to complicate things out of position in a 4-way field, just steps away. Negreanu, however, stays curious.
That's sharp.
Just kind of keeping an eye on Sievert on a board texture such as this.
Yeah, I think Negreanu's aware that Sievert will take a shot at this pot with a wide range of hands. Negreanu does have a fairly strong pair. He's also got some backup in the backdoor flush draw. Little bit of turn and river coverage, maybe just enough to put him in that call territory.
Maybe you can hit your flush and get stacked.
Rast now pairs, having called as well with the flush draw. Sievert still safe, 58,000 in the middle.
The 7 on the turn, improving Rast, is almost a little disappointing as the viewer, as you'd love to see what happens if he doesn't pair up and find some showdown value. As it is, Sievert will probably continue betting here.
Not really wary of deuce X combos against certainly Rast.
No.
Perhaps Negreanu is lurking.
It's certainly possible that Negreanu finds some hands like 4 deuce suited. Those type of hands may complete in the big blind. That said, Seaver's more worried about Rast having something like ace-queen and playing it this way. It's somewhat rare, but definitely possible.
So Scott now delivering a 35K payload. This into 58,000.
Feels somewhat impossible for Negreanu to stick around with just 9s here. He's sandwiched between 2 players. Rast's overcall on the flop could certainly be something like Queen-Jack, which he's nearly dead against. And now that Rast has found a pair to go with his flush draw, folding versus this bet size doesn't seem like an option.
Down to heads up. As Negreanu bowed out, Rast stuck around, fails to find the necessary 7 or diamond. Cozy river card here for Seaver to pursue value. You don't anticipate kings, aces, ace-queen to be amongst holdings, rather, pardon me, that Rast would approach the matter in this fashion with.
You would expect to see a raise or a bet outright most of the time with those sort of hands. I think Seaver is aware that Queen-Jack is a real holding that Rast could have, so he may respect the Jack a little bit. That said, this is the sort of hand that would really like to go for value on the river. Still beating a number of Queen X hands.
And Rast is made a believer by that river bet, of course, holding a couple of diamonds. It is tough to identify the 3-barrel bluffs there for the man who decided to bring the substitute teacher sheet to this particular featured table. A little salmon cardigan, dare I say?
You know, Seaver is one to mix it up in a lot of ways, but usually it's not in the attire category. I really like seeing this.
I'll tell you what, there is good reason for the 2-time PGT event winner on the season to be wearing that big smile there.
And I was just like, part of me was fucking.
As we take a peek at outer table action, Ike Haxton grinding the phone, Sean Winter retaking his seat, Coleman and the Booth brethren Nick Schulman embroiled. Board reads Queen 7-9 with a couple of hearts. You see the gut shot for Coleman. Schulman with a gutter of his own is king high. The best hand, bets 7,000.
Schulman has just had such a fantastic year this year. He won, I believe, 2 bracelets now. It's had a number of other large scores, has crushed on the PokerGO Tour. And it's hard to imagine there's anyone I would root for more than Nick Schulman.
I tend to agree with you on that front. Longtime partner in the booth during the night shift each and every summer at the World Series of Poker. Although I confess, my frustrations in terms of our professional relationship center around the fact that this man is as good at the game as he is, and clearly the economic upsides there for the 6-time PokerGO Tour title winner. As you see his bio board brought to you by GPI and the Hendon Mob are far greater on that side of the operation.
Are you saying it's tough to keep him in the booth, Ollie?
You know, and I'm not even mad at him. I'm really not. If I approach the game with the aptitude that Nick did, I promise you, you'd be in this booth alone, Sylvia.
Listen, man, it's always a little sad to see the kids go off to college. I understand. They leave the nest.
I'll tell you what, he is the professor in school, is Schulman. Picked up yet another World Series of Poker bracelet down in the Bahamas this December at WSOP Paradise. Coleman limping the small here, as Winter appears to be exploring some craniosacral relief. Did I say Coleman or did I say Winter? Because I meant Winter, if I didn't.
I think you said Winter.
Did I?
I believe. I was actually busy looking up the big blind, Zachary Gretsch. He's one of our Dream Seat winners.
Now talk to me a little bit about this, because, you know, just about everybody in this particular field is a known commodity, but some less so, and that's on account of other paths traveled into this free roll.
Yeah, it's interesting. So
all right, we are here with the 2024 PGT Player of the Year, Jeremy Osmus. Jeremy, a few things to get to. I have some questions. Naturally, we have a check to present. How about we start with a 2024 Jeremy Osmus highlight reel? Sound good to you?
I'll watch it, sure.
Okay, let's take a look.
No, I
Osmus.
Ace on the flops.
The amazing Osmus.
Jeremy Osmus at risk. Jack and Osmus survives.
Osmus very quietly said all in.
What an awesome win for Osmus.
This is what Jeremy Osmus does, just sizzling.
But the turn is a 9! Advantage Osmus!
It's the 3 of clubs on the river, and Jeremy Osmus is the victor, and to him go the spoils.
All right, there was that win in the PGT PLO series. When you look back, what stands out to you about that 2024 run?
The PLO one, or just all the
Just the whole year, yeah.
I mean, this series is just on a, like the 100K when I got second to Big Hooney. That one is kind of etched in my mind. That was the big one. But yeah, I put together a lot of good runs, and played well. I'm always improving, and ran good, obviously, to be here. And yeah, very fortunate.
Still can't get over all those seconds. So you are building quite the career resume. When we add PGT Player of the Year to it, what does that honor mean to you?
It means a lot. I mean, there's a lot of pros in Vegas, and this is kind of where we meet up and battle, and there's a lot of events here, and I'm fortunate enough to play all the games. I play some mix, and I play PLO a lot, so helps me in the leaderboard for sure. So going in, I think I have a good shot always to hopefully take it down, but it means a lot because the competition's tough all year. You're playing a lot of the best players in the world, so to win it means a lot to me. Yeah.
Fun part now, big check time. Is on behalf of the PokerGO Tour, it is an honor of mine to present you with this check for $50,000. There it is. It is yours. Well deserved. There he is, your 2024 PGT Player of the Year. That is Jeremy Osmus. There it is. It is yours. Well deserved. There he is, your 2024 PGT.
I can't win.
Congratulations to Jeremy, of course, and our apologies to Jeff, who did take that time out with Jeremy prior to the onset of play there. Of course, Jeremy's road traveled, a very straightforward one into this free roll, and I return to revisit the topic of conversation, Jesse, just prior to the interview, centering around the fact that lesser-known commodities in this event did work their way into the field through other means.
yeah, so there were a number of dream seats given out, I believe 10 of them, to make a full field of 50 players. And they had different routes getting in there. Some were through the subscribers of PokerGO,
Yeah,
I believe.
annual subscribers, to be specific.
Some were through different associated series, like Run Good.
Yep.
But it's interesting because there's a number of avenues that you can find your way in now without having to battle in the 100Ks per se.
Right.
And then you got to step it
very
up
curious
and
what
play
you're
with
about to
some
do.
of the toughest players on the planet. So
Yeah.
I don't know, for me, I know some people avoid
No,
playing
no,
at the
you-
tough
that was
tables,
right.
but for me, that
paid 11.
being a competitor,
Oh,
that's
you paid
really
11,
cool
right.
and
He's a
something
weirdo.
I think a lot of
Nobody
people
ever
who get
does
into
that.
poker
You paid
eventually
11.
strive for.
Oh, he's
So,
put me in the blender
you're saying
here.
you're a masochist of
Paying
sorts.
11. What the fuck?
Yeah. I've never really thought about it that way, you know?
Give me a strawberry patch any day of the week over shark-infested waters as you see Seaver relinquish the 10 high effort.
Put me in a fucking tizzy.
You know, Ollie,
Fucking 11.
you could argue that all of us in the poker world are masochists
Yeah, probably.
to some extent.
You know, that's a fair point, Jesse. Those that would endeavor to do this professionally over a long period of time, much like this Sam Sovrel pictured here, are cut from a complicated cloth of love-hate with the game. Downswings can very much test one's mettle, and
Someone was talking about
every
how
one of
they
these
did in this
guys has
tournament.
gone through, and I don't care how decorated they are, I don't
didn't
care
either.
how winning a player they are throughout the course of their career. I mean, Negreanu, number 7 all time, we have seen him famously break down at the hands of merciless runouts that I'm not sure whether or not it's the emotional response that he's had to them that kind of, you know, are singed in our minds that make us feel as though he's had a disproportionate, you know, experience, or if it's truly that he has run worse than others over recent stretches, but he is not one to shy away from competition, and that is exhibited here, courtesy of King Jack and a 3-bet to 16,500. Lonis, by the way, he's not shy. Those chips will get in motion in a hurry and with all sorts of kit.
Oh, yeah. Jesse comes to play.
I think they're just breaking a table, but
I've seen him
way to
find some
suck
wild
gets like
lines
fucked
Yeah.
if they move.
in my
Did
day.
only 2 people not show up?
Ace-9 offsuit, digs
Yeah,
in,
46 should be 46, so yeah,
finds
50.
itself with second pair
40
against
plus
top
the
pair,
6 bonus
issues
people.
as a 4-1 dog checks over.
No, 30
Oh, there was 3. It's 49, yeah.
There are
There's
some
3
poker
bonus people
players
from
who
the 1
stick
series
to the
and 6
book,
from
per
10.
se,
Oh, yeah.
and
It's
they've
49.
reached the highest
It's 50
levels
then
of the
they just
poker
fucking
world
gate
doing
on
so.
TV.
Jesse is not one of those players. For Jesse, all options are always on the table, and that makes him a truly
There's
fun
3
player to watch.
And 6, and then maybe 1 from something. Maybe like Tim's cousin.
Just a little one for good luck, yeah.
Here we see a fairly standard check call with a solidly middling hand. Ooh, that's a problematic card for Jesse,
I guess Lennon was one of the guys.
Who?
as the odds of Negreanu
Him
holding a
and-
king go down.
Blom didn't show up.
No, Blom's here.
Victor's.
Blom's right there in the blue half. Table 1.
I talked to him on break.
Yeah.
Trip kings on the turn and texture that, as you alluded to,
It'll-
Jesse,
this is-
could
I'm
leave
sure Illis
Lonis
isn't here.
believing his hand is good,
There's
in
a couple of the,
particular
like, fitness
when you
guys.
see
Yeah,
Negreanu check
yeah,
back
yeah,
and you
yeah.
see a fairly dry-looking 7 of spades roll off on the end. Value pursuits, perhaps, for Jesse?
Yeah, at this point, you'd imagine your hand is nearly always good. That was a very sneaky check back by
Yeah.
Daniel Negreanu, especially with a kicker as good as a jack. You'd imagine the best kicker he ever shows up with here is king-queen, right? Ace-king is always 3-betting.
Yeah, I mean, he was a 3-better pre-flop.
Oh, he did find that. Okay.
Yeah, but you just never anticipate, if you're Lonis, that trip kings are parked across the way, as we can see, and the induction of this 22,500 that smolders in front of Jesse is mission accomplished for D-Negs. Wow, he comes with a flat, Jesse, and perhaps it wasn't so much sneakiness
This is a 3-bet pot.
as
They got checked down.
a flat on the river there does suggest that Daniel was maybe somewhat concerned about opening the action there on the end.
I think it's certainly possible. I also feel like he had this plan where he was going to put one more bet in.
And that was it. Well, there he is. 3 wins and 21 cashes, amassing 2.4 million and over 2,000 points for Negreanu. Number 2 on the 2024 leaderboard. As such, starting second in chips overall in the field of 50. Davies Lonis and Mike Rocco.
This season
rounding
on
things out.
high-stakes poker.
Give me $1 million, please.
Oh,
All in.
okay, so this was a bluff that went terrible.
I mean call.
It's going to be a nice highlight.
You know what's great about poker?
I've rate fine.
15 years ago, that hand would have never played out that way. Ever. Ever.
Poker's a lot of fun.
It was the worst beat I've taken in my whole career.
So backfired on me. It's so frustrating.
That's crazy.
Yes! Just funnel money to him.
This is what happens. Cooled me. The only show I've run bad on is high stakes poker.
Could have 3 jacks.
Yeah, and I'm probably losing.
111.
What the?
Yes!
Why do I give you action?
Wow, that was dramatic.
All right, we found our new villain.
That's the villain for sure.
Rick said, be warned, he's going to play aggressive.
Bad to hold. Can't win.
It'd be sick if you value bet queens and I pay it off with jacks. I don't want a needle, but I want to ask if you even had a queen.
That's a needle.
All right, all in.
Call.
Ooh, snap.
Wish I would have shipped it on your pre-flop.
Yeah, that would have worked. You know what? Oddly enough, that would have worked.
Back now at our featured table where Breck Scutton doesn't look particularly thrilled to have been parked here, Jesse.
I was just enjoying conversation.
I don't
here
really
too much.
blame
I
him.
didn't want to torch it off and have to leave.
I mean, on the one hand, it's a table of killers, right? But on the other hand, are you really going to find a table that isn't full of killers in this tournament?
I mean, listen, one would imagine that you've got your eye on perhaps some of these Dream Seed PokerGo annual subscriber entries as perhaps being where you'd like to be making new acquaintances.
I like the way you put that, Ollie.
Yeah.
New acquaintances.
Negreanu gets acquainted with Ace Jack
My bad.
in the form of a limp.
Yeah, no, you're actually the one person.
There's Calvin
that's, like,
Anderson.
maximum
Couple
sharp
of
on
nickels
this
limping
stuff.
as well.
I'm
Brian
just
Kim
used to,
Yeah, for sure.
on my left and
closing
right having,
things with the
people
Ace-7.
who could be out to lunch on that.
Ace Queen
Speaking.
5, all diamonds. Kim outkicked.
Oh, and Anderson flopping a set here. Speaking of players who don't stick to the playbook all the time, Cal is a player who I used to refer to as poker's last cowboy.
Oh, I like that.
He can really do it.
Yeah. Him and Lonis got, similar chromosomes
Mm-hmm.
in the double helix.
Yeah, maybe two guys who weren't wired quite right, but in the poker world, that's a fantastic thing to have going for you.
I mean, obviously these swords are double-edged. Sometimes those deviations can be fruitful. Other times we find self-mutilation. Meanwhile, the set performing awfully well here.
Cal is putting a lot of thought into this one. Comes up with a fairly chunky bet here, considering the multi-way nature of this pot.
Well, Negreanu was the better on the flop for 6,000. Obviously nobody mucking, and now Anderson saddles up and leads for 17,000. Discombobulating for Kim, who has a diamond working, has top pair, but has concerns, of course. Now his flat, perhaps, Sylvia, providing Negreanu an opportunity to express some concern. Can you ever step away from an ace-jack without a diamond here?
If I'm Daniel Negreanu and I'm putting together two ranges of hands, it's not looking particularly great for my ace-jack, no diamond, I have to say.
He knows it, but he is going to call perhaps this a function of awareness with respect to Anderson's unorthodox procedures. Board pairing queen on the end. Kim's kicker improves to a 9. Anderson fills up and has this one by the throat.
This is sort of the upside to this unusual lead by Cal, is he has befuddled both players to some extent, and you can see it from Negreanu. He didn't want to flick the chips in, but he's like, I don't really know what's going on here. I better not let it go quite yet.
Yep.
It's easy to imagine Cal being up to something here rather than just having it after flatting flop and leading out on the turn.
Well, adorned with what appear to be the spoils of a Buddhist gift shop. Anderson barrels once more, 17,000. Hopefully that's ethically sourced jade, by the way. Although I guess there is no such thing as unethically sourced jade. It's not ivory. Anyway, I digress.
I gotta say, I don't know enough about jade to contest any of that, Ollie. I'm not on the right level there.
Whoa, whoa, whoa. All of a sudden, this pot gets a whole lot more interesting, courtesy of a Negreanu raise to 135. And listen, fives, yes, it's a full house. It isn't a comfortable feeling, though. Anderson accepting his fate in the event that pocket aces or ace queen belonged to Negreanu here. Didn't take a long time to make the call. I thought he might chew on it a little bit harder, and credit to Negreanu for going hard there. I'm not sure that he takes that action against a player that isn't Calvin Anderson there.
I have to agree. That was really fantastic stuff by Cal. I couldn't imagine taking many lines that allows Negreanu to bluff for so many of his chips, especially this early in a tournament. That's not usually his MO.
Well, 4 cashes on the PGT season. Number 5 would be oh so sweet for Calvin Anderson. That really took shape in a way I don't think either of us could have anticipated.
Absolutely not. And that really, I can't say it enough. That is the magic of Cal.
Ace Jack now for Sovrel. Didn't work so well for Negreanu. Sam takes us upstairs. Pocket queens now for BK.
I feel like if there's one player who defines the PokerGo Tour, it might be Brian Kim. Every time I throw on a final table on PokerGo, he's at that final table.
He's part of the furniture,
yeah.
Jesse.
He is always hanging around.
He's like Old Faithful in terms of kind of steely, consistent performers. As we see him 3-bet and take this one uneventfully from Sovrel. Really excellent player who continues to evolve. Let's send it down to Jeff Platt now with some info from one of our outer tables.
All right, we wanted to give you a lay of the land at the PGT Championship. Check out some of the outer tables, introduce you to some of our players out here. Let us start with table 3, and in seat 1, it would be Seth Davies, winner of the PGT PLO Championship, Super High Roller Bowl, PLO Super High Roller Bowl. So 3 big wins for Seth. 1 big loss this year as his Oregon Ducks got smashed by Ohio State. Sorry, I had to mention that. We'll cut that out in the CBS Sports edit. Big Hooney in seat number 2, the winner of the 100K High Roller at the World Series of Poker. A very memorable bracelet number 1 for Chris. In seat 3, it is Michael Rocco, 5th on the PGT leaderboard. A great World Series of Poker for Rocco. 3rd in the 25K High Roller, 3rd in the 10K Super Turbo, won the 10K 6 Max. In seat number 4, Dream Pass winner via PokerGo social media contest, Phil Johnston. That got him into the Dream Seat Invitational yesterday, and he won a seat then. His last cash came at the Orleans in their $400 mega stack. Slightly different level of competition here, all due respect to the Orleans. Over to seat number 5, Jonathan Little, the 2024 PokerGo Cup champion, won the 10K, won the 25K during the Cup, and he just beat seat 6 in a pot. You know him, Mr. No Gamble, No Future, Ren Lin. He beat Ren Lin with 3 Lady Gagas on the board, so quite an impressive feat for Jonathan Little. Lin won the Texas Poker Open main event for $400,000, finished 11th at the WSOP Paradise Main. He told me he has a 100% chance to win this PGT Championship. And finally, in seat 7, that would be Kristen Foxen, 13th place in the World Series of Poker main event. A remarkable run there. One of the most recent inductees into the Women in Poker Hall of Fame. So that rounds out table 3. We'll be back with more table introductions, but for now, let's go ahead and send it back to you guys. Ali?
Excellent work, Jeff. Thank you so much for delivering those insights. And as he did it, Jesse, all of a sudden, I feel the need to liken what we're observing here today to an all-star game of sorts.
Yeah. I like that analogy.
Right? Fair
if
comparison.
it's even an analogy, it really is just an all-star.
Right?
All-star game.
All-star hand in pocket jacks. Responsible for the raise to 7,000. Kim tries 5s on for size. Lonis with King 8 suited, showing signs of a little boredom.
Yeah, no, I'm saying you.
Scutton's ambitions.
I'm pretty sure.
Attached to Jack Deuce suited, closing the action, taking the prize. And you see Sovrel thinking, Jack's 4 ways. Oh boy. King 7 deuce. How about this for a flop if your name is Jesse Lonis? Top pair and the diamond draw.
I got like a first, a second, and a third.
This is the sort of flop you expect when you go 4 ways with pocket
You
jacks.
were 3 spots better than me.
That doesn't even make sense because you're like 1 player of the year.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sovril.
Like it says, 8
No
cashes,
desire
2
to
wins,
c-bet. A lot
4
of King X
cashes, 1
combos can be tethered to the flat callers behind.
I guess they only counted 10Ks or something.
That's right. They don't count anything less than 10K.
He has a really nice hand to check as well.
Does
Having
Lonis
the diamond
or
in it.
Sovril?
No, Sovril.
Oh, okay.
Bigger than 10K?
Lonis,
10K
actually, I
plus.
feel like
And here
Lonis
in
could
the
go
studio, if
either
you
way
do
with
5K,
his
they
hand
count,
here.
But we're a series,
It's nice to play it
only 10K
tricky.
plus.
There are certainly
Yeah, it just seems weird.
some strong reasons for that. Generally, you fast play because you have such a
No, but I won
quality holding on this
Sure.
board.
I mean,
In
it's just simple
position,
as
why
10K
let one
plus.
roll off free of charge?
By the way, shout out to Sovril for finding the immediate fold. That is
I got second in
really nice stuff.
Or PLO, a 5.
Yeah, big O.
That's a big O.
Well, there are your top 10 coming into this one. And note that the reigning World Series of Poker main event champion Jonathan Tamayo eliminated, having come in 6th. I don't think he's going to really be dwelling on it much, considering I doubt that he's run through all the millions earned this summer.
I'm pretty sure he blacked out after he won the main event, and he hasn't even come to at this point. So everything that goes on is just...
Well, careful while you black out, because the Baccarat table's a dangerous place to do that. I know I sound like I speak from experience. I promise you I don't. Winter here. Getting raised by Schulman's pocket 3s and being bullied off of an ace-jack. How about it for Nick? As he wags his finger sternly. The other thing about fields such as this that are so incestuous and replete with the high rollers and, you know, the big stars of poker is these guys have been at it against one another for so long. And no matter how much time you and I have spent in the booth throughout the course of these guys' careers, sporadically having opportunities to glimpse upon their procedures, we can't possibly have the full spectrum of context that guides each one of these players when they are playing any given pot against one another. You're thinking back, oh, I remember that hand in 2013 when he pulled something similar to this and he didn't have it, you know, and these guys really don't forget things like that. Elephant-like memory.
No, it's a really good point, and it's why I always try to be so forgiving when a play looks on the surface like it might be suboptimal. Because you just don't know. These guys have played together for so long. For all you know, they could have some kind of live tell going on, or just like you said, they saw something 4 years ago that factored into their decision making, and maybe it was wrong in the moment, but it was a great decision overall.
Well, the decision with pocket 10s for Coleman was to flat against the ace-king. Heartless kit here. Checking over Haxton. Wouldn't mind a 10, as he's got the Broadway gutter and the nut flush draw. 2 overs. 18-5 in the middle. Do you favor following through with that nut heart draw the vast majority of the time, if not with 100% frequency?
Absolutely. I think on the monotone board, you can find some checks if you'd like to, but if you were to bet every single time with that sort of holding, I wouldn't fault you for it. Personally, now obviously there are some players who can really break it down. Tell you that there's a 12% check in there, and I'm absolutely wrong. But
listen, if there's somebody who knows the numbers and knows them better than most, it is Ike Haxton, 2023 PGT Player of the Year, currently number 9 on Poker's all-time money list. Over 50 million cobbled together over the course of his career, which so famously included the visions of him playing an outdoor final table down in Aruba, I believe, when he had that long rock star hair blowing around in the wind. The flop couldn't even stay on the felt.
That's for sure a top 10 poker.
Oh yeah,
that's a beautiful moment.
Look it up if you've never seen it. Kind of the glory years of poker, so to speak.
Yeah.
You know, not to throw any shade at the landscape today, which, I mean, the game has evolved to really a magical place in terms of the computing power that's been thrown at the game by the Silicon Overlords, as Rast likes to call them, the solvers. Just a very different enterprise than it was when Ike first cut his teeth.
I thought the Silicon Overlords were the Kardashians, but...
Oh, yeah. I see where you're going with that.
I
Collagen Overlords also would be a viable
It's close enough to winter.
designation.
That rolls off the
Maybe,
tongue a little
or
better.
I think they put up the pot like that.
Yeah.
Meanwhile,
Yeah, first
rolling
500.
into the pot is the remains of Breck Scutton's stack. King 10
think they paid
suited,
final table and
turning in a
first
top
pot.
pair here as he downs the sixes for the time being.
I thought they only paid like 5 people though.
Lonis,
I think they paid
the
7,
customer,
seven-handed
as he
table.
opened to 6,500.
Or six-handed. I'm pretty sure they just
Almost
pay
an
whatever
all-in
final
from
table
Scutton as he 3-bet to 35. Lonis asked for the last 500. Scutton obliged and is 1 card away from a much-needed double. And he's made it happen.
Scutton, by the way, snuck in as our 40th of 40 in the rankings to qualify for this tournament.
Every train has a caboose, Jesse.
Yeah. But if he were to spin this stack up, it would be quite the story. I think he probably final tabled the tournament right before this just to make his way into this tournament.
PGT ranking of 46. This seems like a peculiarity, as you alluded to 40th place. Jesse, I hate to hold you personally responsible for the discrepancy, but...
So he's 40th on our list. I have to imagine what happened was there are 5 players above him who didn't have 3 caches, which was one of the requisites to qualify.
The opportunity to...
Don't hold me to that explanation, Ollie.
No, it holds water. Lonis, Jack 10, right back at it, undaunted. Seaver with ace 10.
$28.
Yeah, this feels like nice timing. Certainly a hand that could 3-bet regardless from the small blind, but on the back of Lonis having just lost that flip, he might be compelled to play as honestly as possible against this 3-bet.
And look, Jesse and I can only speculate as to what it is that is predominantly influencing responses such as this when it comes to what's going on in Seaver's mind. Obviously, only Scott knows, but, you know, a guy who just gets doubled through, a guy who has an active stack, a guy who has wide ranges, does feel like a viable target. And Scott
I had a hand that could
able to take it down, uncontested.
Boy, I'd love to see what goes on inside the mind of Seaver.
I actually love
Of all people, that would be.
Me too. It's my fucking favorite.
You know, Jesse, I'm going to leave you alone on that one. You know, just I'm a bit fearful of what exactly is going on there.
Oh, it'll be an adventure, possibly terrifying. But
40-minute levels, 30-second shot clock, 10-time banks for each and every player at our 7-handed tables.
Like, that would be real fucking slick.
Got to look at the tournament format there.
I'd just like to understand which synaptic connections are happening that cause him to say the things that he says and do the things that he does.
Oh, that is really an Auntie Anne's pretzels worth of dendrite and neural, you know, weaving without question in the cortex of Seaver.
Oh, okay.
I would sooner, you know, assign myself an early December untangling of the Christmas lights that have been stored for 11 months than really try to unpack Seaver's noodle.
Yeah, of course. And here you are. Thank you.
Meanwhile, 8-6-5 unpacked by the stub and providing a gut shot and a pair to Brian Kim, who defended the big against the Anderson limp. I take it back. It was actually Anderson limping, Brian raising it up, Anderson then calling and flopping this open-ender. So inversion there. Apologies.
Wow, what a turn card we have here.
2-pair against the straight after it went check, check.
Cal has a real decision here. Generally, when the board changes like this, you want to play a high check strategy, high frequency check. However, there's certainly hands that would like to bet, and when you do, you generally want to go big because you're saying, I don't care that that 9 rolled off on the turn, I'm betting anyways.
And also you pique the suspicions of the opposition where they're thinking, why so much?
Sure.
That sort of instinctive, wouldn't you want me to stick around at a lower price if you actually had the straight? Needless to say, the 2-pair do need to keep an eye on Anderson.
Sure.
So another 40,000. Hurry into the middle. Pot grows to 67. Let's see if Kim can fill up. There's your answer, and it's no. As One-Eyed Jacob rounds out the board. That reminds me of Goonies. I know I'm dating myself here, Jesse. One-Eyed Willie, you remember him from Goonies? Oh, Jesse, you gonna let me down?
I mean,
you remember Sloth and the Baby Ruth, at least?
I do remember Sloth.
Okay.
I have fond memories of Sloth. One-Eyed Willie, I might have to go back and watch this again, Ollie.
You know, Chunk was my student body president when I was in college. True story.
Are you serious?
Yeah, and I never knew his real name. I just called him Chunk. Meanwhile, Anderson with a chunky 40,000 as the soup thickens, and Kim will pay off here.
Do I have a banker now?
And Anderson surging and trending in the right direction as the ascent now clears the half-milli mark. How about this for an early
I'm about to bust out this
level
hat.
4 performance here in today's coverage? Started at 195 and parked at 517. And I have to guess he's not going to try to coast his way through the remaining levels.
Absolutely not. The Cal train is one of quite a bit of momentum. He's usually at the top of the chip counts or nowhere to be found.
Stuff on the inside. Okay. It's nice.
All right, continuing the table introductions here at Table 5. We'll start with Seat 1. Now, 3 last-minute seats were awarded at our PGT Last Chance Series. Shannon Shore won 2 of those Last Chance events, a remarkable feat considering the incredible turnouts of those tournaments. Enjoying some Din Tai Fung. He's rich. He can afford it. In Seat 2, Stephen Chidwick, no surprise to see him here at a PGT Championship event. The most PGT final tables, the most cashes, and the most in earnings throughout the PGT's history. Over in Seat number 3, it is the 2024 U.S. Poker Open champion, Aram Zobian. And also, what a start to the year for him. He got there with his 9s versus my queens in the PGT kickoff event last year. So really could have just been me here. Instead, I'm stuck working with you, Ali, and Jesse, and Brent Hanks for most of the year. Moving on, Brian Rass, the Poker Hall of Famer, just arrived here, had some flight issues, had one incredible World Series of Poker, 2nd in the 25K PLO, 8th in the 50K PLO, 24th in the main. To his left, Boris Angelov finished 5th in the main for $2.5 million. Needed 3 cashes to qualify. Got there on the very last chance event when he finished 2nd to Shannon Shore. Rounding out this table in Seat 7, the Poker Masters champion, Jim Colopy, bubbled last year's top 40, but he is in the mix this year. It's a bit too soon. That's my bad. He also just knocked out Justin Saliba. And here we go on to the next one when we come back. Ali?
Keep up the great work, Jeff. Thank you for that. I love that the players are actually sitting and hearing his report. So he kind of... He did seem a little bit bitter, by the way, about being denied an opportunity to play hooky from sideline duties as opposed to be out there in this particular field. You know, as challenging as the sideline assignment can be, I think it pales in comparison to having to be out there. But I don't believe, and I confess I don't really know what Jeff's comp is, that it's anywhere between 40,000 and $500,000 over the next 2 days. So maybe the bitterness is warranted. Meanwhile, bottom set for Brian Kim here as Anderson 6,000. lacks much hope here. He was the pre-flop opener. Picked up the 2 callers from the button and the big, respectively.
BK coming with a raise right away.
Everybody seems to be wearing these glasses these days.
RA Optics?
Does
Yeah.
Does it help
For the
with
light.
brightness at all?
Yeah, that's all it's for. It's like
Would imagine this causes Cal to check out. He does have that backdoor straight draw, backdoor flush draw type of thing going on.
Yeah.
Could give him reason to stick around. No, just lets it go. I like that. You know, if I were to make a decision between being on the mic or playing for $500,000, I might lean towards the latter.
Let me think about it.
But I do enjoy being in here with you, buddy.
I love having you here as well, Jesse. And for those of you that love studying the game, Octopi Poker is the most accessible platform for doing so for all skill levels. Put yourself at the final table by playing with Octopi's new ICM trainer plan. Start at $180 per year, and all paid subscriptions will be entered into a drawing for a seat to the first event of the 2025 Poker Masters. Check it out and join now at octopipoker.ai. Lonis with the hard 8.
They really picked out a world-class feature table today.
I mean, listen, it was kind of throw a dart at the board and you're not really going to miss, but I tend to agree with you. This here is, this is silly.
And just also getting that verbal combativeness that Seaver always brings, mixed with Negreanu's table talk.
Listen,
a lot of cool
Seaver,
elements.
he can be a little bit of a bot fly out there, you know.
Oh, yeah.
He can get right beneath the dermis as Scutton gets right above this 6,500 for the full 75 and change here. Out of the big, squeezing Negreanu's flat.
This may work.
I can't imagine that Lonis is going to have an appetite to play roulette for near half his stack with these 4s.
Yeah, it's a lot of blinds. Lonis, you know, this is a very difficult field, but I feel like there isn't a field where Lonis doesn't think he has some sort of edge. So letting these thin situations go might be his MO a little bit.
Sure. And a nice second helping for Scutton after doubling through Lonis. This time a nibble upon Jesse's stack with Negreanu caught in the crossfire there.
It was a really nice pickup for Scutton. He certainly could have came with just a flat in the big blind, but decided to fast play his hand, find a possibly light jam, and just pick up a ton of chips uncontested.
Breck, $5.4 million in career tournament earnings, 36 years of age, from Grand Rapids, Michigan. It says he went to Calvin College. Now, I don't know if that means he got schooled by Anderson early in his career or it's an actual accredited institution, but he did receive a BS in sports management. I also confess that BS as an acronym across my lips, you know, less employed as Bachelor of Sciences and more employed to the tune of hogwash, you know, but let's just assume it's an accredited university and he has a degree in sports management. Lonis with a degree in pre-flop opens. 10-8 suited as he continues to remain active. Scutton bows out this time with an ace-5 off. Sovrel, jack-4 offsuit. He's going to take a peek.
Sovrel certainly not the first guy who comes to mind when you think of soft big blinds.
No. No, this isn't a pillow top mattress. More of a futon. Jesse, spadeless. Fires 7,500. Sovereign with the jack of spades. Second nut flush draw. Flicks in the call. Finds a pair of fours.
That was an awfully fast call on the flop. I wonder how Jesse decides to break that one down. Sometimes when a player makes a very quick call, I assume they were never thinking of raising, which if they had some of their stronger holdings, they would at least give that some consideration.
Wow, and Jesse finds a pair of 10s for a winner at Showdown on the river, provided he's given the opportunity to get there. I don't think Sovrel can really target Lonis. Board texture such as this, you could see ace-x, queen-x play in this exact fashion as a bet check. And Sovrel does shut down and get shown the 10s, disappointingly. Then
Jack was the money card.
Lonis will haul that one in.
Kind of a
14 million
wild
in career tournament earnings for Jesse. Sorry, for Lonis, Jesse. Apologies for the 29 years of age. That's not bad. Originally from New York. Father of 2. I was a bit surprised by that.
He does not play poker like the father of 2. You know,
Yeah.
you get older, you have
Yeah.
a couple kids, you start to tighten up at the table, Ollie.
You know,
Jesse is not that guy.
No, maybe he's already socked away the college fund. And he's like,
Yeah.
no, you're safe, you know.
Yeah.
You're not going to go without diapers. But two-time bracelet winner very much keeps his foot more toward the accelerator side of the floorboard.
Lonis plays with the fearlessness of a young man who's been backpacking around the world the last 2 years.
Yeah.
Not a guy who's making payments on a house that he, you know, puts a roof over his family's head.
No. You know, I confess, though, Lonis doesn't scream mortgage to me. And I'm not alleging renter. But I'm just saying maybe we paid for the house in crypto or just bricks of cash.
Little handshake crypto agreement for the house.
You know, here's a treasure. Thanks for the keys.
Yeah, I could see that for Jesse. Here's a treasure.
Yeah, just, you know, it's the world in which we live.
I cut off your chunk of the Bitcoin, put in this treasure for
Yeah,
you.
there you go.
There you go.
Scutton showing ambitions with 10-7 suited. Sovrel spoils them promptly. 3 scoops up to 23,000. Seaver with a pretty suited one gapper in the small. Obviously, the luster fades a bit in the face of the action in front of him. Cutoff and button. Left to it by Scott. Just another 15,000. But when you only got another 81 back, that is a little richer than it might sound. So Scutton steps away, and it looks like Seaver, a big fan of the goodie bag provided here today. The PGT ball cap, of course, that to which I'm alluding. Checking back in with this crew.
Speaking of a table of killers, I would not want to be Grinch right now.
No, no. Gretch almost feels like an adjective to describe, you know,
His current
the
predicament.
situation that he finds himself. What a Gretch I'm in here, you know?
Yeah.
A Gretch of a table draw.
And then he gets moved to the feature and further Gretches.
Yes. There are worse Gretches to find yourself in the field. There's Winter. Queen 3 of diamonds. Raising it up. Gretch hanging in here. With the old 9-6 off. Finds second pair, more than we can say for the pre-flop opener, Winter.
Definitely fun to see Winter play some of these early levels of the tournament without the stress of the ICM model coming into play. We often see Winter at final tables, and he in particular takes a very snug approach to the shackles of ICM.
I'm going to tell you one thing. Nobody knows how to tunnel rat their way through the sewer system of a tournament and into a final table with a sub-10 big blind stack like Sean Winter. I mean, really, poker's weasel, if you will. Not in a negative, you know, ethical connotation, but rather just
in the positive weasel sense.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I mean it. Like,
no, absolutely. It's something to emulate for sure. It's the type of weaselness that you'd like to add to your own game.
Yeah, you know, there's not even the faintest whiff of resignation out of this man when it gets down to the back end of things and he's sitting there with the nublet. He's like, what why is everyone looking at me, man? My favorite is when he asks for a count, by the way, where he's got like 4 bigs and the chip leaders betting into him. Nothing makes me happier. Meanwhile, pleased enough by the presence of an open-ender, despite lacking a spade, Winter barrels once more. This on the back end of the 12K follow-through, which was check called by Gretsch. Once again, he hangs in there. This time the price $16,000. Board pairing 5. Gretsch still with the best hand, just a naked queen high and a shutdown for Sean as he goes 2 barrels and done. Now, I don't know whether or not you caught a glimpse of the T-shirt there, Jesse. There's a shot of it. And, you know, I don't know whether or not there's a primate moral code of some sort that, you know, I haven't been privy to, but apparently ape shall never kill ape. Jesse, what about orangutan? Can orangutan kill orangutan or chimp kill chimp?
Possibly, but I do know that ape shall never kill ape.
Can baboon maim baboon? These are sort of the Darwinian questions of our era. They're really not. I just, you know. I do appreciate the shirt giving me 15 seconds of joy, though.
Safe to say there are more questions than answers on that particular T-shirt.
Yeah,
Ollie.
yeah. It's a conversation starter, I suppose. Ace-4 doesn't engage in any dialogue. It's a raise and take. There's David Coleman exploring some tactile relief. That looks like a healthy number of PSIs available from this particular therapist, by the way. You know, I don't...
Sometimes you got to risk.
I confess, you know, and back at the feature here, it's good to go with a sturdy therapist if you're looking for the deep tissue. You know, I remember once asking for more pressure. I literally had the woman tap out. She just said, that's all I've got. And I was like, wow, I'm so sorry. I guess we'll have to end it here then. It really was an awkward spot. That was a table massage too, not a seated one. You know, she was like full weight, and I was like, really? Is that all you got, Flacco?
Like I love looking stupid on TV tables.
That's a tough day, by the way.
That's a tough day, right?
That she has to just throw in the towel, and yeah.
Yeah. I didn't feel victorious. It wasn't one of those kind of tap outs. You know, it's not like I expected to have my hand raised in the ring and have my name on the marquee as a result. It's not a battle I want to win.
They don't give you a plaque on the wall like when you eat a very hot meal at Mint.
No. In fact, I think they 86 you from the spa. Meanwhile, Seaver with a mysterious 2-card, influencing a 3-bet to 27,000. And for Anderson on the button with ace-queen off, things have gotten slightly awkward.
60, he said.
But he decides to volley And the awkwardness now gets toggled right back over to the other participants. You saw prompt release from Kim and Sovril. And we await Seaver's durability.
Seaver appears to have picked up a number of chips since we last came over to this table. I think he ended the last hand around 180.
All in.
Oof.
Uh-oh.
It's not what Cal wanted to hear.
No, ace queen in particular really
This is 220.
is an uncomfortable one.
50.
He is going to make the call though, and he's run into needles. Seaver
Crazy.
poised to really make a meal out of Anderson's chips. You see him shaking his head there. A bit of a cooler. Seaver, by the way, is capable of this maneuver without stone top of range, especially against Anderson and Cal. The trickiness for a player like him is he knows what people's perceptions are of him, and so every now and again he needs to dig in, and he's going to need a lot more than a shovel to dig out on this King 4-3 board. Running spades would do the trick.
When Seaver said all in, Cal wasn't feeling, oh wow, that's quite a turn card.
Yeah, sopping wet.
I mean, I expected to lose from the start. I'm honestly not going to sweating this one.
Seaver.
Scott.
With poor premonitions here. Is Cal going to put an ugly one on Scott and shower him?
To lose from the start, so I'm not
Queen or
really
a spade
sweating
would do it.
Later, guys. 261.
And the 8 of diamonds allows Scott to exhale.
250. 255. 257.
And in the process,
261.
ingest a
You have to hand it to
large
Scott.
serving.
He played some solid defense mourning the loss of that hand before the river card came off. That
Well,
is,
listen, you know, the dark arts